Yeah. Good evening, everyone. How are you people doing? Okay. So let's have a quick review of what all things we have done under conflict. So can you just write it in short what all things we have done under this chapter conflict? What all things we have done under conflict? Yeah, good evening. So what all things we have done under conflict? Can we have a quick review of that? Okay, so let me give you one question. Okay, this question is on conflict. Okay, and then you have to write the answer to this. So see, they actually asked conflict-based questions in interviews because they want to judge whether you can handle conflicts or not, how aggressive you are. Okay. See, my boss, a division manager for Walmart, asked me to develop a marketing plan aimed at increasing online sales for certain product lines. The plan was to be developed in cooperation with corporate internet marketing department. A deadline of 2 weeks was set for a plan development. After speaking with my internet marketing team, I realized a 2-week deadline was not going to be realistic. Okay, I informed my boss that based on my conversation with the Walmart internet marketing team, 2-week deadline was not possible. He said he understood and asked me to get it to him as soon as possible. Exactly 2 weeks later, my boss sent me an urgent memo requesting the plan so he could present it to the board. He can present it at a board meeting the next day. When I reminded him that he has extended the deadline following our previous conversation, he said he has no recollection of extending the deadline and blew up at me. So how you are going to behave in this situation? See, you are being given a 2 weeks deadline for a particular task. You discussed it with the team and the team said it's not realistic. So you actually contacted your boss again and you told him this thing. So he said, okay, I'm going to increase the deadline. Okay, and exactly after 2 weeks he contacted you again and he said he needs the plan. He has to show it at the board meeting. Okay, he has to show it at the board meeting. And when you told him that no, based on our previous conversation, you have extended the deadline, he said no, that is not up to the mark. You are that has not been done. Okay, and he has put all the blame on you. So how you are going to behave in this situation? Yeah, very good evening, Maria. Okay. So how are you going to deal with the situation? Write the response for this question in the chat box itself, and then I'm going to write my answer. How are you going to sort out that problem? See, he is your superior, so you just cannot go against him. Okay, you must be feeling very, very aggressive after all this, drama, but still you just cannot go against him, right? So how are you going to sort it out? Fine. Is it fine how you have to sort out this question? What you have to do in this question? How you have to solve it? Everyone out there? Maria, Fakhruddin, Prabhavati, Kelvin, Vinod Kumar, Sandeep, Satish, Mohammed Irshad. Prabhavati is trying to convince him about extended, but he is denying that. How will you convince him then? What will be your strategy, course of action? But if he is not willing to recall, then what are you going to do in that case? Let me give my solution. Okay, I'm just going to put it on the board. See, I was momentarily taken aback by his unexpected response, but I stayed calm. So obviously, if anyone is going to behave like this, you are going to feel very angry. You will get very angry towards him, whether he is your boss or father or mother or anyone else. Instead, but you cannot argue with him. Instead of arguing with him about the deadline, I changed the focus of our conversation to the strategy we had come up with to support a substantial increase in online sales for each of the product lines he has earlier identified. After discussing the strategy in detail, he relaxed a little. Okay, so see, he has to present boss. You can see, when you want to tackle some problem, you have to, first of all, the mood of the boss is already, like goal driven, right? Here he has to present it tomorrow, so obviously he's tensed. He has to present it tomorrow to the board, so he's a bit tensed about it. So if you'll fight with him, it won't be good for you. Both of you should not fall into argument. Rather, first of all, you might have reached to certain conclusion till yet. Okay, so you have to discuss it with him that, okay, we'll be doing this and this to increase the product sales. Okay, and once he'll get to know your strategy, okay, he'll be relaxed a bit. This is how you can console him a bit. Just try to bring his temper down. I told him I could have a detailed marketing strategy outline for each online product on his desk first thing in the morning, ready for his meeting. Result: a good conflict resolution example has a happy ending. Describe the positive outcomes resulting from your actions when possible, provided quantifiable results. If you are unable to measure the results, provide anecdotal evidence that positive outcomes were achieved. Example results: by being solution oriented with my boss, okay, I was able to provide him with what he really needed, something substantial, okay, which he needs to present at the board meeting. He later mentioned to me that the strategies I had developed were genius and apologized for blowing up at me. Okay, a few of the strategies I developed were adopted on a division level. I was never provided with the specific result of the strategy implementation, but by 2013, my boss has been promoted to regional manager and I was promoted to division manager. Anecdote. You don't understand the meaning of anecdote? Short, anecdote, it's a short account of a particular incident. Okay, account of something. Okay, yeah. So this is how, see, what your boss is saying, it might be incorrect, but you just cannot, fight with him. You just cannot fall into an argument with him. It won't be good for your sake, right? So this is how you have to stay calm in such kind of situation. Fine, everyone? Okay, let's move ahead to the chapter. Yeah, just don't get aggressive. You have to, suppress your aggression at that point. Being a human, that is our instinct. Aggression is our instinct, right, everyone? So if you'll get aggressive and you'll fall in argument with him, his or her, it won't be good for your sake. Right, everyone? Now, sources of conflict, this is what we were doing. Competition, diversity of goals. This also we have covered. Task interdependence, this we have covered, right? This reciprocal interdependence. Now, we have to difference in values and perception also we have done. Aggressive nature of people, we have to begin from here, right? Now, see what leads to a conflict. Okay, what makes conflict pop up in organizations or in real life even. Okay, another factor that has a large potential for generating conflict within an organization is personality characteristics that account for individual idiosyncrasies and differences. Okay, every individual is different, right? Evidence suggests that certain personality types, for example, individuals who are highly authoritarian, okay, arrogant, autocratic and dogmatic, lead to potential conflict. See, if I am egoistic about something, if I'm arrogant, okay, autocratic, then in that case I may fall in conflict with others more and often, right? Right, everyone? Yeah, see, if someone has got an authoritarian kind of a nature, okay, then he or she arrogant, okay, dogmatic, then he may, fall in fight with people often, okay. People have a natural need to find an outlet for their aggressive tendencies, okay. See, aggression might be, there inside you. So how you are going to take it out? You take it out in the form of conflict. Organizations are sometimes used as arenas for expression of aggression, blowing off steam, leading to conflict. This discussion on the sources of conflict is intended to emphasize that it is not possible to design an organization which will remain conflict-free for all times to come. So you can never find any organization where there won't be any conflict. Right, everyone? Right, Mohammed, Kelvin, Fakhruddin, Maria, Prabhavati, Vinod, Sandeep, Satish and Mohammed Rashad. How about others? Only Prabhavati is responding. What is the issue? So conflict is inevitable in an organization, as some of these sources will always remain in an organization. See, if you, when you, like make an employee join your organization, you don't know what kind of a nature he has got. So sometimes he might be having a nature which may, he might be into the habit of having conflict with others. And see, everybody is different. They have different goals, perceptions. So conflict you just cannot avoid, right? Even, children of the same parents, they fall in conflict over something. So how can you say that? We fall in conflict with, our parents also often. However, these sources are not to be confused with the causes of conflict. A conflict is ultimate analysis is caused by perceptions and feelings people experience when an incompatibility exists between what they want and what someone else wants. See, what you see is correct as per your perception, and what I see is correct as per my own perception. But when we start challenging other people's perception and we try to prove that my perception is everyone needs to accept that, then conflict is going to arise, right? We force other people to see as we see, right? This is wrong. When perception of incompatibility and feeling of frustration generate actions, conflict is manifested. Fine? Okay, now let's solve this activity. Which sources of conflict have contributed most in the conflict examples that you have given in your earlier exercises? Is one particular source more reoccurrent? So what causes conflict often? Okay. Yes, correct, Eva. See, at home there are just few people, okay, like-minded people, okay, and still they fall in conflict, right? So organization is a very, very big thing. It has got, infinite number of individuals. So conflict will be there, right? Okay, could you identify some other sources of conflict so as to make the list more comprehensive? So you have to see, we have discussed various reasons which may lead to a conflict in an organization. Now, what causes conflict often? That is my question. You have to do this in this activity. What causes conflict often? You have to enlighten me on that. Is it clear? Mohammed Irshad, Satish, Sandeep, Vinod, Prabhavati, Maria, Fakhruddin, Kelvin and Mohammed Nihal. So just solve this activity, and then the next part is modes of conflict management. How to manage a conflict. Just solve this activity, please. Yeah, so just solve it. You have to see, this is the activity, so I need a bit broad answers for this, a bit elaborated answers for this rather than one-liner. No one-liners, please. Just try to, write it in the form of an activity answer rather than one-liners. It should not be one-liners. Rather, it should be a bit elaborated. Okay? Is it fine? Mohammed, Kelvin, Fakhruddin, Maria, Prabhavati, Vinod, Sandeep, G. Satish, and Mohammed Irshad. Yeah. Just finish it fast, please. Okay, fine, fine. Now, let's deal with the, okay, let's deal with the modes of conflict management, okay? Can you see the board properly? Everyone out there? Is, are you able to see the board properly? All right, fine. Now, modes of conflict management. We can now move on to examine the modes through which conflict can be handled so as to result in optimal unit performance. See, till the time conflict is there in between the team members, what is going to happen? If two people of a group are in conflict, what is going to happen? It is going to hinder unit performance, right everyone? Yeah, correct. Okay. You have already seen that when conflict level is too low, the unit performance is likely to be low, and there is a scope for a perceptive manager to stimulate conflict in order to enhance the performance of the group. So it, up to some extent, it stimulates the performance, it stimulates the creativity. Similarly, when the level of conflict is too high, it should be optimum. It should neither be too low nor to be too high. And conflict needs to be resolved so as to restore high performance and optimum level of conflict. Okay, so in this section we shall examine both the strategies of conflict management, stimulation as well as resolution. Fine. Now, stimulating product conflict. Most of us since childhood have been taught to avoid conflict and even disagreement. How many times have you heard the statements, don't argue, stop fighting, or it's better to turn the other cheek? However, this tendency to avoid conflict is not always productive, and there are times when there is a need to stimulate conflict, right? In an interesting experiment, series of groups were formed to tackle a problem. Some groups contained a planted member to challenge the majority opinion. Some groups didn't have. Without fail, all groups that had planted member came up with more perceptive solutions than the other groups. So up to some extent, it's stimulating. However, when the groups are asked to drop a member, all the groups that had a planned member chose to drop the deserting member despite clear evidence that the conflict was beneficial. Such a resistance to conflict is what managers have to overcome in stimulating productive conflict. Robin suggested the following as signs where conflict stimulation is needed. The organization is filled with yes man. Yes man is, who are yes man? Who are yes man? Can you give me an example? Who are yes man? Everyone needs to write that down, not just a single person. Who is a yes man? What do you make it out when I use the word yes man, or when someone uses the word yes man? What is a yes man? Please write it down in the chat box. Yeah. How about others? Only Prabha is the student in class. How about others? Who is a yes man? Write it down in the chat box. Can you please write it down? Mohammad Irshad, Sandeep, Satish, Kelvin, Senthil Kumar, Nazruddin, Fakruddin. Who is a yes man? Yeah. Okay. Employees are afraid to admit ignorance. Okay. Compromise is stressed in decision making. Okay. Managers put too much emphasis on harmony and peace. People are afraid of hurting the feelings of others. Popularity is given more importance than technical competence. Okay. People show great resistance to change. New ideas are not forthcoming. There is unusually low rate of employee turnover. Okay, so in these cases, conflict stimulation is needed. Okay. The presence of one or more of these signs is usually an indication of the need for conflict stimulation. Once the need has been identified, you may adopt one or more of the following techniques. Manipulate communication channels, deviate messages from traditional channels, repress information, transmit too much information, transmit ambiguous or threatening information. Okay. Alter the organization structure, increase the unit size, okay, increase specialization, add, delete or transfer organizational members, increase interdependence between units. Okay, so see, if more members will be there, it may generate conflict, which is needed here as a stimulant, right? Alter personal behavior factors. Create a role conflict, develop role incongruence, change personality factor of leader. Okay, these may lead to a stimulant conflict. There are only a few of the suggestions possible, depending upon your values and the organization's value system. Some of the suggestions may even sound unethical, as you feel that a desirable end state does not always justify the questionable need, like transmitting threatening information. We leave it for you to decide. So do something which may generate conflict, stimulant 1. Okay. But if by stimulating your value conflict we become successful in helping you to understand the important option of conflict stimulation, yeah, we shall consider that such conflicts are functional. Resolving inter-party conflict, how and when. You have seen that stimulating conflict is required mode of conflict management when groups are characterized by apathy, complacency, and non-responsiveness to needed change, lack of enthusiasm for generating alternatives. So if people are, sometimes, due to monotonous, life, we lose zeal and we become like machine, right? We start behaving like machine. So in that case, this stimulant conflict is needed, and we actually, once we develop a convenient zone in something, we just resist change. Change is needed if you really want your organization to do good, and if you really want to soar high, if you really want to achieve success in life, you should be open to change, right? Though these symptoms are very much present in a number of work units in Indian organizations, the more commonplace are heightened manifest conflicts. So for most practical purpose, you should not only possess the knowledge of different strategies of conflict resolution, okay, but should also know when to use which strategy. There is no dearth of literature in this area, and different authors have given different taxonomies in reviewing possible conflict resolution strategies. Okay, here we consider Fledman's strategy of intergroup conflict resolution. The primary dimension along which intergroup conflict resolution strategy vary is how openly you as a manager should address the conflict. Okay. The chief characteristics of conflict avoidance strategies is that they attempt to keep the conflict from coming in the open. So if you try to avoid it, it's never going to come in the open, right? Okay. The goal of conflict diffusion strategies is to keep the conflict in abeyance and to cool the emotions of the parties involved. Conflict containment strategies allow some conflict to surface but tightly control which issues are discussed and the manner in which they are discussed. Conflict confrontation strategies are designed to uncover all the issues of the conflict, okay, and to try to find a mutually satisfactory solution. Okay. Is it clear? Is this much clear? What is conflict avoidance? What is conflict diffusion? What is conflict confrontation? Okay. Shall we proceed ahead? Now, conflict avoidance strategy, ignoring the conflict. Okay. This strategy is represented by the absence of action. You as a manager have often avoided dealing with the dysfunctional aspect of conflict. Unfortunately, when you avoid searching for the causes of the conflict, the situation usually continues or becomes worse over time. So if you are not trying to, combat with the conflict, the situation is going to get worse over time, right? Although ignoring the conflict generally is ineffective for resolving important policy issues, there are some circumstances in which at least a reasonable way of dealing with the problem. Okay. One such circumstance in which ignoring the conflict is reasonable strategy is when the issue seems to be symptomatic of others, more basic conflict. For example, two groups may experience conflict over the amount and quality of office space, right? Such conflicts often reflect more important issues about relative power and status. Resolving the office space problem would not address the key issues, and the attention could be directed more fruitfully to the more basic concern. Imposing a solution. This strategy consists of forcing the conflicting parties to accept something devised by a higher level manager. Okay. Imposing a solution does not allow much conflict to surface, nor does it leave the room for the participant to air their grievances. So it also generally in an ineffective conflict resolution strategy. So see, if my boss is forcing me to resolve the conflict as he wants to resolve it, will it sort out the problem? In front of him, everyone is going to agree, but from inside, nobody is going to agree with the same, right? And the piece this kind of strategy is adapting okay, the peace we are getting like this, it would be short-lived. Because the underlying issues are not addressed, the conflict will reappear again in a different form, right? But sometimes, forcing a action can, however, be appropriate when quick, decisive action is needed. For instance, when there's a conflict over investment decision and delays can be very costly, sometimes, you just don't have time and you have to take some decision. In that case, you will have to force the people to accept what you ask them to accept, right? Forcing a solution may be the best strategy available to top management. Likewise, it may be necessary when unpopular decisions must be made and there is a very little chance that the parties involved could ever reach agreement. An example of this is when an organization must cut back on the funding of programs. It is unreasonable to accept that any department would agree to cut its staff and expenses for the greater good. Yet, some hard and unpleasant decisions ultimately must be made. Right? Is it clear? So these some strategies, they are unethical, they are not that good, they are not acceptable, but sometimes you have to take those decisions to resolve the conflict. Fine? Is this much clear? Any questions? Okay, smoothing. Conflict diffusion strategies. One way you deal with the conflict is try to smooth it over by playing down its extent or importance. You may try to persuade the group that they are not so far apart in their viewpoints. So see, if two parties are in conflict, A and B, you can make them agree that, okay, you are not in that much conflict as you think. Okay. Point out similarities in their positions. Try to pat group members whose feelings have been hurt, or play down the importance of the issue. Or play down, okay, by smoothing the conflict, you can hope to decrease its intensity and avoid escalation or open hostility. Fine. See, if someone is feeling hurt and if you give them if you console them, obviously they'll go down, their aggression will go down, their anger will drop down, right. Like forcing a solution, smoothing generally is ineffective because it does not address the key points of conflict. However, smoothing sometimes can serve as a stop gap Yeah, owing to the heavy rains, I have lost connection in between. It's raining very heavily in my city today. And in the morning sun was there and now it's raining like anything. Yeah. Okay. So you can hear the thunder sound too. Okay. So heavy rain, thunder, everything is there. Okay. Yeah. Now, so however, smoothing sometimes can serve as a stopgap measure to let people cool down and regain perspective. In the heat of the battle, people may make statements that are likely to escalate the conflict. See, conflict will be there and smoothing won't help. But yeah, it won't let the situation, burst more. Okay? So you can stop at that very point. Okay? And smoothing often can bring the disagreement back to a so it can be managed. Smoothing also may be appropriate when the conflict concern non-work issues. For instance, intergroup conflict frequently occurs between older and younger employees because of their different political beliefs and moral values, right? Some smoothing can help to diffuse the tension so that the conflict does not spill over the central work issues. Okay. Now, appealing to superordinate goals. You can diffuse conflicts by focusing attention on the higher goals that the group share or the large range aims that they have in common. This tends to make the current problem seem insignificant, right? Rather than focusing on small things, why not to focus on big things? Besides the more important goals, finding superordinate goals that are important to both groups is not easy. Achieving these goals requires cooperation between the groups, so the reward for achieving the goals must be significant. The most successful and most frequently used superordinate goal is organizational survival. If the subunits do not cooperate sufficiently, the continued existence of the larger organization itself will be severely jeopardized. Fine? Now, conflict containment strategy using representatives. One of the strategies you can use to contain conflict is the use of representatives. In order to decide an issue, you can meet with representatives of the opposing groups rather than deal with the groups in their entirely. Yeah, Prabha, you are asking something? You want to know the meaning of the word jeopardy. Okay, jeopardy is a word. It means harm, failure, danger. Okay. Yeah. So see, it's not possible. A group might have more than one member. Obviously, group will always have more than one member. Okay. So it's not possible to deal with the entire group in one go. Rather, you can deal with the representatives of the group. Okay. The rationale is that the representatives know the problem and can argue the group points of view accurately and forcefully. Although this seems to be a logical way of proceeding, the research on the use of representatives as the means of solving intergroup conflict is fairly negative. Representatives are not entirely free to engage in compromise. Rather, they must act out of loyalty and are motivated to win. Even though solution to the intergroup problem may be sacrificed in the process. A representative who gives in is likely to face suspicion or rejection from the group. So if a representative cannot win, he or she will try to deadlock a situation or least forestall defeat. Okay. So see, if they are bringing the one person who is going to, who is going to be, you can say he will represent the whole group. And in case he, loses, then people start, raising fingers on him, right? That he might be biased, he might be, he might be working with, he might be, like the representative of the other group, but he is showing that he is with our group, something of that kind, right? Although individual representatives have difficulty in negotiating an argument because of their fear of rejection by the group. So if they are losing, everyone, everyone is going to reject them. That's human nature. Two situational factors can increase the effectiveness of this strategy. First, the use of group representatives from each side can help to overcome individual anxiety about group rejection. The member of each team can provide mutual support when they need to make concession in order to achieve agreement. Also, group of negotiators may receive broader support and trust from their respective sides, since each representative may represent a different constituency or bring different expertise to the negotiation. Most labor negotiations involve several representatives of both management and labor. So rather than bringing one, bring some. Okay, so that all blame is not put on one. Resolving conflict through representatives is more effective before positions become fixed or are made public. After positions become fixed, the representatives become even more intransigent and given in is more likely to be attributed to the personal failure of the representative to situational factors. Now, structuring the interaction. What is that? Some managers assume that one way to decrease conflict is to increase the amount of contact between the groups. Okay, in reality, increased interaction can merely add fuel to the fire. So, if two groups, okay, if two groups they are brought face to face, is it going to sort out the problem? Is it going to resolve the conflict? No. In reality, it is going to add fuel to fire because they are already aggressive or they are already agitated with each other, right? Okay. Yeah. In reality, increased interaction can merely add fuel to fire, and two groups spend their time looking for additional reasons to reinforce their negative stereotypes of each other. See, if they are coming in contact, what they are going to do? They will try to bring their point. They will try to impose their point on the other group like anything, right? Is it clear? Okay. However, structuring the interactions between the groups can be effective in resolving conflict. Providing a framework on how many issues are discussed and the manner in which they are discussed can facilitate conflict resolution. There are many ways to structure the interaction between groups, to deal with the conflict. Some of the best effective strategies include decrease the amount of direct interaction between the groups in early stages of conflict resolution. So during the early stages of conflict resolution, see, it depends from situation to situation. Okay. Yeah. So during the initial stages, don't try to bring them in front of each other because they are already furious over one another, like towards each other. Decrease the amount of time between problem-solving meetings. Decreasing the formality of the presentation of issues. Limiting the recitation of historic events and precedents and focusing instead on current issues. See, they might have fallen in conflict with each other earlier too. So don't let them, like replay it again and again. Otherwise, it is going to make the situation worst. Okay. Rather, they should make them focus on the present issues. Okay. Using third-party mediators. All these strategies allow some conflict to surface, but prevent it from getting out of hand. And so these strategies, they don't sort it out fully. Okay, but yeah, they prevent from they actually help in that manner that they don't let it, like run out of hand. It gets freezed at that very point. And reduce hardening of the group's position. Decreasing the amount of direct interaction, between the groups early in the conflict help to prevent the conflict from escalating, right? Decreasing the amount of time between problem-solving meetings help to prevent backsliding from tentative agreements. Decreasing the formality of the presentation of issues helps to introduce a problem-solving rather than win-lose orientation to the conflict. So just present, rather than being formal, just present it as it can be sorted out. Okay? Don't focus on winning and losing, just bring it in forefront as it is, so that with the purpose of sorting it out. Limiting how far back historically and how widely precedents can be cited helps to keep the focus on finding a solution. See, what they might be having a very, very bad conflict. They might have, encountered bad conflict earlier too. So if they will start discussing that, their focus will shift on that. Okay, rather they have to find solution to this problem. So just just help them in sticking to this. Finally, a mediator can act as go-between who transmits offers and messages, helps the group to clarify their position, present each other's position more clearly to the other, and suggest some possible solutions that are not obvious to the opposing party. Structuring the interaction is especially useful in two situations. When previous attempts to discuss conflict issues openly led to conflict escalation rather than problem solution. When a respected third party is available to provide and enforce some structure in the interaction between the groups. Now, bargaining can also sort out conflict, right? Not fully, but yeah, up to some extent, right? Okay, sure. Now, see, bargaining is the process of exchanging concession until a compromise situation is reached. Bargaining can lead to resolution of conflict, but usually without much openness on the part of the groups involved and without much real problem solving, right? Typically, in bargaining, each side begins by demanding more than it really expects to get, right? So whenever we do bargaining, we actually, whatever quote we lay down at that time, that is more than we expect. Because we think that, see, if suppose there is one product, I want to sell something, okay, on OLX. Suppose I want to sell my mobile. I know I am not going to get more than 7,000, so I say, okay, I want to get 7,000. But rather than putting 7,000 at another quotation, I'm going to put 8,000 because I know that people won't, because I have this fear, no one is going to give me, 7,000. So let me put it 8,000. They are going to bargain, and this is how they can ultimately reach to 7,000, and I can get 7,000. Human nature, this is what we do. Right? This is what we do. Right, everyone? Only Prabha is responding. Why are others not responding? Are you finding it boring or what? What is the reason? Okay. So this is what, see, typically each bargaining side is going to quote out more than what they demand. Both sides realize that concession will be necessary in order to reach a solution, but neither side wants to make the first concession because it may be perceived as a sign of weakness, right? Thus, each party signals a willingness to be flexible in exchanging concessions without actually making an explicit offer. A tactic proposal can be denied later if it fails to elicit a positive response from the other party. Bargaining continues until a mutually satisfactory agreement is reached. Although such a solution can be reached without much open discussion of the conflict issues and without much effort to solve the underlying problem, right? So when they bargain, I don't think it is going to sort out any underlying issues. Therefore, bargaining often results in a compromise agreement, okay, that fails to deal with the problem in a rational manner and as not in the long-term interest of either of the groups, right? Because they are surrendering. For them, what does bargaining mean? They are surrendering, right? They are being weak, right? This is what the thing, this is how we take bargaining as, right? When it comes to company, I'm talking about the company policy, right? Is it clear, everyone? Bargaining, how about others? Bargaining also is more likely to work if there are several acceptable alternatives that both groups are willing to consider. Otherwise, bargaining is likely to end in a deadlock. So if there are several options available at the time of bargaining, then you would like to bargain more. Okay? Conflict confrontation strategy. Problem solving. Problem solving is an attempt to find a solution that reconciles or integrates the needs of both parties who work together to define the problem and to identify mutually satisfactory solutions. So problem solving is both the parties are going to sit in front of each other, okay, and they are going to identify the problem and they are going to sort it out. They are going to find out a solution which is acceptable to both the parties. In problem solving, there is an open expression of feelings, right? as well as exchange of task-related information. Alderfer summarizes the most critical ingredients in successful problem solving. Definition of the problem should be joint effort based on shared fact finding rather than on biased perceptions of the individual group. So see, when you try to solve the problem, and if you want that method to be effective, in that case, what you have to do, both the parties, they should come up with the definition of the problem, what the real problem is. Okay, they should present the facts, both the parties, and then they should define what the problem is, right? If both the parties are, being transparent and laying down the facts in front of each other, obviously they can reach to a definition of the problem which is acceptable to both, right? Problems should be stated in terms of specifics rather than abstract principles, right? Points of initial agreement in the goals and beliefs of both groups should be identified along with the differences. Okay? Discussions between the groups consist of specific, non-evaluative comments. Questions should be asked to elicit information, not to belittle the opposition. So, see, when you are adapting this problem-solving strategy, you should be open in asking questions, and questions should not be to, like bend them down, okay, to make them feel low. Rather, it should be to sort out the problem. The group should work together in developing alternative solutions. Okay. If this is not feasible, each group should present a range of acceptable solutions. That okay, this is the problem. I think it can be sorted out like this. It can also be sorted out like this, rather than promoting the solution that is best. Okay. So when you are solving a problem together, two groups, what they should do, they should lay down the solutions, as many solutions, okay, as comes to their mind. They should arrange it. They should align it up on a board or somewhere where others can see. Both the groups should see that. Both should read each other's solution, and then they should reach to a mutual conclusion. Okay? Solution should be evaluated objectively in terms of quality and acceptability to the two groups. When a solution maximizes joint benefits but favors one party some way, should be found to provide special benefits to the other party to make the solution equitable. All agreements about separate issues should be considered tentative until every issue is dealt with, because issues that are interrelated cannot be settled independently in an optimal manner. Okay, so there are two preconditions for successful integrative problem solving. The first is minimum level of trust between the groups. Without trust, each group will fear manipulation and may reveal its true preferences. So see, if you are adapting this strategy, you should believe in the other group. Otherwise, what is the use? You will always think that everything is in their favor, right? Secondly, integrated problem solving takes a lot of time and can succeed only in the presence of pressure for a quick settlement. Okay, so it may take a lot of time. So you should know this, and you should just make sure that it's a quick settlement. Okay. However, when the organization can benefit from merging the differing perspectives and insight of the two groups and making key decisions, integrated problem solving is especially needed. Okay, so see, this is how you can bring two groups together, right? Integrated. One group might not be able to think what other can think, and also one group, when both of them are in front of each other, they can make each other understand their perspective. So this is going to limit the conflict in between them, right? Or organizational redesign. This we are going to cover in next class. Okay, that is tomorrow, not today. And after this, we are done with this. The summary is written, and then some questions are there. Okay. Okay. Any questions for me? So we would be able to complete it tomorrow, and then we are going to solve questions related to that, and then we will switch over to the next chapter. Any questions? Anyone out there? We have another class at 9:30 p.m. IST. Okay. Thank you so much. Don't forget to fill the feedback form, and we'll do the summary for this. Should I do the summary or not? summary, keywords, all these stuff. Yeah, so we'll cover, only Prabha says, how about others? Should we do the summary and keywords for this or not? Please let me know. Sandeep is saying no. How about others? No, 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 not today. Should I cover this or not in next class? This is what I'm asking. I know you have another class. Some other day. That is tomorrow. I won't do it today because in the next class we'll cover the case study. And I know you have a class with Kaushik sir like after this. So this thing, see, it's mentioned here. You want me to switch over to the next chapter, okay? Or you want me to cover the summary part and this definitions part? That is what I'm asking. In the next section, not today. Please let me know. Okay, Sandeep is saying we'll do in the next class. Fine, fine. So we are going to, it's okay. Okay, okay, fine, fine. So see you in next class. Bye.